So today on Late Nights with myself, Bridget Masinga, we are coming to you live from the Design Indaba in Cape Town, and we are in conversation with a young, brilliant mind who goes by the name of Jabu Nadia Newman, and she is one of the speakers this year at the Design Indaba. And like I said, a brilliant mind with a very distinct voice, especially on social issues pertaining to her generation. So hello, Miss Jabu. Is it Jabu or Nadia? Which one do you prefer? Jabu.
Hi, Bridget. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thanks.
So how has the whole Design Indaba experience been for you thus far?
It's been a rush. It's been very overwhelming. It's been incredible just to be here and see all of the amazing things that they've had. I mean, this is quite an event to pull off, so I'm so happy to be here.
So rumor has it that you were a student at UCT studying film, politics, media.
Yes.
Quite an interesting combination that. And then in the event of fees must fall, you then postponed or deferred your studies in order for you to put out your creative products. What motivated that?
I think that I could see that there was like content that was missing that the South African generation were dying for. And just by the fact that we were having all these political conversations, I knew that we needed to put out the same type of content and tell the stories that the youth were experiencing right now. And Foxy Five was a way to kind of like take real and current events, real conversations, real experiences, and put it into a fictional story that anybody can watch and relate to and find funny and then maybe learn something on the way.
Very, very interesting. So how important is it for you to sort of allow your creativity to vocalize, the struggle or the journey and the narrative of your generation?
I think it's really important. I see the Foxy Five as a research project that's looking into what are the conversations that we as Black women in South Africa are having now. And almost like a form of archiving these conversations, because there is so much to learn from what we're talking about right now. We are talking about so many things that play into politics, into our daily lives, and coming up with new ways that we can exist with each other.
So the Foxy Five, is this the web series that you developed to tackle all these issues?
Yes, the Foxy Five is the web series, and it comes out usually once a month, and every month it's focused on one character because there's 5 of them, and then through that character's experience we're talking about an issue. Our last episode was talking specifically about trans identity and often how cis women can also be very violent towards trans people, and how we need to be more of allies towards women who may not look like us or may not, who we may not like see as the same, but they are.
It is Kai FM, the home of the Afropolitan, and we are in conversation with a brilliant Cape Townian mind who's showcasing at the Design Indaba 2017. She's got a very distinct voice, and in everything that she does creatively, she ensures that the authenticity of that voice follows through. So we've seen this resurgence of activism in this generation, and I think this generation, for a long time people labeled it the lost generation, the generation without direction, the rebel without a cause, so to speak. And I think in the last 2 years we've seen at the forefront of this current history, the millennials really take charge of that. What do you think has been a contributing factor to that activism?
Yes. I think it's very interesting that you're saying that, because I definitely remember being in high school and people talking about how apathetic our generation was due to the fact that our parents were the people in the struggles. They were the people marching, they were the people fighting against apartheid. And I think that a big contributing factor for me was I was born in 1994, so I grew up with the democratic South Africa, and I compared my self-growth compared to South Africa's growth. And I think that a lot of my generation did that. They said, hey, but we're in university right now and we weren't promised the same, and we haven't gotten the things that our parents were promised when they were in university. And it became that thing of like, you know what, we need to start bringing these issues up again, and we need to hold our government accountable, because more things need to be of change. We've now it's taken us 22 years to get here. Now we need to start changing things. Yeah.
Would you say that creativity has the tool to bring about social change?
Yes, I think that creativity gives you a chance to explore new ideas, explore new concepts. It opens your mind, but it also it gives you an outlet of what you want to do for the world and what you want to say in the world. And it's so much easier for people to relate to you and learn something from you when you're doing it a creative way, rather than just like at UCT having lectures and things like that. When you're actually relating it to a story, or relating it to a skill, or relating it to a personal experience, through creativity, other people can relate to that and connect to it and understand it more.
Now, the other argument that I think a lot of people pose, especially on this show, is that a lot of the time the African narrative is told through a Western or European lens, and hence loses that localized authenticity and and that rootedness in who we really are. Would you say this is so? And if so, what then must happen from, never mind now the generation of those who are outgrowing the hip and fabulous, but with your generation, what needs to be the changed in order to reflect who we are?
I think that it's very difficult to be telling someone else's stories and get it like authentically if you have not lived that yourself, or if you are not working with those people. Therefore, when African stories are told through Western ways, they're not hitting the mark, they're missing the point, because there are nuances within our Africanness and within our culture that they just won't grasp and won't get. So I think to change that is definitely, like I've been reiterating, is to put us behind the lens, put us behind the people creating it and doing the production, not just seeing black faces on screens, but actually having black people behind, pressing play, writing the scripts, writing their own stories, shooting their own stories. So giving the opportunity and giving the tools to us as Africans to start telling our own stories.
It is Jabu Nadia Newman on Kaya FM. As you can hear, absolutely brilliant. What I find interesting is, so I love interrogating people's names and figuring out what is your lineage and how does that sort of play out as you go about crafting the journey of your career.
Yes. So everybody says your name's Jabu. They think it's Jabulani. I'm like, no, that's a boy's name. Then they say, are you half Zulu? I'm like, no, I come from very mixed backgrounds, but I was specifically named after an activist who died during the struggle, Jabu Ndlovu. I even have a book. My parents were very involved then, so yeah, they named me that name. They were going to call me Sibongile after Sibongile Kumalo, but they stuck with Jabu.
Wow, it was written at birth that you would be the activist that you are right now. So you've worked in Cape Town on varying projects in your young career, but it's very colorful thus far, which is fantastic. How is Cape Town from a creative perspective? Is it easier to create and collaborate with your peers in the city, or are you finding it as a young creative, it's a space that's harder to infiltrate?
I think that when you're trying to create with people who you might look up to, or maybe you see where they are and you see what they're doing, it can be difficult because Cape Town is quite competitive. It's a very commercial place where a lot of overseas jobs are happening here. There's only like a certain amount of actually local people working on those projects. But I think that there's so much creativity in like the youth and people who are just starting out and people who are just finishing university. All of our crew and cast are very young. They're under 25. They're all kind of beginners, like starting their professional career. But that then creates this passion of wanting to work together and learn from each other. And that's the best way of being creative, is learning from each other, but also teaching each other.
And what have been some of the challenges that you've kind of had to face, especially doing at such a young age and such an infancy in your career, tackling such hardcore topics like history and race and equality? Obviously that comes with a lot of push-pull factors as well.
I think it's very difficult writing this subject matter because it is quite painful to write at times, and we are depicting like real people's struggles, and that's quite difficult. But it really helps to have a team of women where we're always discussing, we're debating, we're making sure that we're trying to tell the stories as authentically as possible. I think another challenge would definitely be money and budget. It's very hard to get people to believe in your project until you've shown them what you can do. And when you go to people and tell them it's a web series about 5 black women and they're not scared to say what they want to say, it's quite daunting because people think that it's hostile and people might not think that it's going to reach a big enough audience. But yeah, we've been able to be together and do it by ourselves.
Are South Africans ready for 5 honest black females telling their stories?
I think they are. I really think they are. I think that the older generation might not get it, but it's not for them. It's for the new generation now, so that we are able to change things and not wait for other people to change it for us.
Jabu, it has been absolutely awesome. I look forward to seeing exactly what else you're going to bring to your audiences.
Great, thanks so much for having me.
And that is it for this particular segment out at a very hot Cape Town. It is the Design Indaba 2017. She's brilliant, she's creative, and one day she might even decide to revert back to her legal minds. For now though, you can catch her on the World Wide Web.